Welcome to the Hope Warrior Project podcast. This season, we've been focusing on ditching the mindset of powerlessness. We've heard various stories of people who have experienced a situation that left them feeling powerless or like a victim to their circumstances. And we've heard how they regained their power, their confidence, their optimism by making a decision to look at their situation differently. They are truly the definition of a hope warrior. A hope warrior is someone who has decided they will not be defeated by the challenges in life, but they will look for the meaning and the purpose. They choose to understand that life is happening for them, not to them. And so much of that comes down to perspective. And that's what I'm talking about today, the power of perspective. Okay, close your eyes and imagine the number 9. Right? Got that in your head? Now I want you to flip it upside down. What do you see? You should see the number 6, right? It's the same symbol, but how you look at it, how you view it, determines what you see. This is perspective in action. Our point of view, how we look at something, is our perspective. How we interpret or understand it is our perception. Those two terms get interchanged quite a bit, but perspective is how you look at it. Perception is how you understand it. And in life, perspective makes a huge difference. Think about it. All the stuff going on, things that are going on in your life, in your family's life, your friend's life, things that are going on in the world, how you look at that determines how you interpret it. But here's the thing. How I look at it may be different than how you look at it, which means we may have different understandings of the same thing. Here's an example. Have you ever been in a group of friends and maybe one person says something that another person really got offended by, right? And then maybe they tell you afterwards, wow, I can't believe Sharon said that. If your name's Sharon, I'm sorry. I can't believe she said that. That was so rude. I'm so offended. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't think anything of it at all. It didn't bother me. Well, why is that? Why would two people interpret the same thing differently? That's because everyone is viewing life with their own set of filters. Now, these filters come from a variety of things. How we're raised. Okay, so in your family, what were the religious or political viewpoints? What was the financial situation? Were you in a family who, money was aplenty and you always had the coolest new shoes and clothes? Or did your parents or family struggle just to get food on the table, right? Or what about the culture that you were raised in? Now, this can make a big difference with, different nationalities or countries that we're from. That's a filter. All those things are filters. Another thing are experiences that we go through. So if you've experienced any trauma or abuse, if you have lost a family member, that's going to be a filter. You're going to look at things differently. If you've experienced divorce, whether it was your parents going through a divorce and you felt the impact of that as their child, or maybe you yourself have gone through a divorce. Was it an easy divorce or was it a horrible divorce, right? Or if you've experienced any mental or physical health challenges. Again, was it you? Have you experienced it, or was it a close family member that you saw what they went through? If you've experienced any of those things, you're definitely going to look at things differently when it comes to those type of situations. Here's another thing that I don't think we necessarily think about, but our limiting beliefs also are a filter. And these are the things we've just picked up over the years, pretty much starts as children, and we just continue to pick up these lies over the years. So things like maybe you feel like you're not smart, or maybe you feel like you need to look a certain way to be good enough. Or maybe you feel like you need the approval of others to feel good about yourself or what you're doing. Maybe you feel like you have to be perfect, or things that you do, they have to be perfect. Limiting beliefs are things that cause you to feel bad about yourself, and they limit you. Think about it. Any of those things are going to limit you somehow. They're going to hold you back. These are definitely filters that we look through, and sometimes it's just, we don't even realize it. It's subconscious. I'll give you a personal example for me. I experienced infertility. So I was never able to get pregnant and have children. So this was a very emotional time for me over many years in my past. And during that time, maybe other of my mom friends would make a joke. They would say something like, "Oh, be glad you don't have any kids. Mine are driving me nuts," right? Now, from my viewpoint, as someone who can't have children, that felt hurtful. So my experience with infertility was a filter. Someone that had never experienced infertility would not have been hurt by that statement, right? So that all sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, I realize, but here's the good news. When we are aware of our filters, the fact that we have filters, and we own it, I mean, really own it. Don't pretend like the way you look at things and the way you think about things is just perfect and you're right about everything and everybody else is wrong. I mean, come on, right? We all have filters. So when you are aware and you own it, then you can recognize that your immediate reactions to things may not be accurate, or maybe they're just not helpful. But here's the cool thing. We get to choose our perspective. It's a choice. Now, go back to my infertility example. In that situation, I had to choose to look at that from her perspective. So, the person that said that to me. And I realized that she didn't mean anything by it. There was no ill intent. She wasn't trying to hurt my feelings, but maybe she felt just kind of awkward. She didn't know what to say to me. So what do you do when you feel awkward? Maybe you make a joke. So maybe that's why she said it. So when I looked at that from her perspective, it changed how I felt about it. Now, sure, initially, it still kind of hurt, but I didn't have to hold on to that and stew on it and be so upset and then be mad at her, feeling like she's so rude and awful because she said that, because I chose to look at it from a different perspective. So it's a conscious choice, though, to make that decision to look at it that way. And it is powerful. So how could this play out in your life? All right, well, I'll use just a really simple example that I'm guessing maybe we've all been through. Let's say you're driving down the road, the highway, and someone just cuts you off. Now, I know that can really tick you off. Well, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but yeah, that can make you mad. Now, that's immediate reaction. And you may be thinking, well, what is wrong with this person? Don't they know how to drive? What an idiot, whatever. But here's the thing. If we stop for a second, say, okay, hold on. Let me look at this from a different perspective. Maybe that person just was distracted for some reason. Maybe they just received some bad news and weren't thinking and about their surroundings. Or maybe they're just not familiar with the area and they didn't realize they needed to be in that lane so that they could get off at the next exit. Listen, I've done that and I've felt bad. I've cut people off because I didn't know I needed to exit coming up soon, right? So I think we've probably all experienced something like that. Now, here's another one, not quite as, simple. What about when you have different opinions on politics or religion? Youch, right? These are topics that we tend to be very, very passionate about, which is good, but we're going to have different thoughts on that. We're going to come looking at the politics and religion from different perspectives, again, based on maybe how we were raised, experiences we've had. So if we can consider why does that person have that opinion that's different than mine, then we're allowing ourselves to kind of take that emotion out of it and look at it from their perspective. Okay, well, I can be a little bit more understanding, and maybe I still don't agree with them. That's fine. But at least I can be more understanding of where they're coming from, and it helps with that relationship. So why does this matter in life? Well, Okay. Do you want to have better relationships? Yes. Well, we can have better relationships because we choose to view others' actions and behaviors in a non-judgmental way, just like I was talking about with the politics or religion statement. Or what about peace in your life? Who doesn't want more peace in their life? Well, we can have that when we decide to look for the lesson or even the blessing in a difficult situation. And I know that's hard sometimes, and sometimes it takes us a little bit to find it. But again, we have to make that choice to look for it. We can have a lot of stress and fear and anxiety in our life based on how we're just reacting and looking at things through those filters. So we can reduce that. Who doesn't want to reduce stress and anxiety? So when we can acknowledge that our filters might be distorting or even exaggerating some circumstances in our lives, that can help reduce some of that fear and anxiety that we maybe feel. So there is power in choosing our perspective. When we can replace this idea of, well, why is this happening to me, with, well, what is this trying to teach me? When you can do that, that's when you realize that life is actually happening for you, not to you. Yes, life is happening, but how we look at it determines if we feel like a victim, it's happening to me, for me, or what is this teaching me? This is happening for me. Now, we all know that there are going to be challenges and hard times in life. That's just a given. But now we know that our immediate reaction to those challenges is influenced by those filters. And we get to make the choice to respond to those challenges. So instead of reacting, we can respond. So we get to make the choice to think differently, to act differently, to look for the lesson. Is it simple? Yes. Is it easy? No. But is it worth the work to have better relationships, more peace, less stress and anxiety? Absolutely. But it is work. It doesn't just happen on its own. Now, you may be overwhelmed right now and thinking this sounds way too difficult and your brain's ready to explode. If so, that's okay. That's why there are people out there like us who love this stuff. I mean, we study it, we research it, we're applying various strategies and approaches on how to change our mindset. And we're passionate about helping others do the same for their own lives. That is exactly what we are about at Hope Warrior Project. You know, Maya Angelou made a statement. She said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. If you want to start thinking differently, join our community. I'll put the links in the show notes so you can easily find us on whatever platform you're on. And if you're ready to do the work and start discovering what your limiting beliefs are and how they're holding you back, register for our upcoming Hope Warrior Academy. We start September 27th. Over a 4-week period, if you do the work, you will experience transformation in how you think about your life, how you think about your purpose. But it's going to be work. But remember, if you want better relationships, more peace, less stress and anxiety, well, it's worth the work. So here's my final thought. What filters have you been viewing your life through? And do you want to keep viewing your life through those filters? Or do you want to choose to look at your life's challenges from a different perspective? A perspective that will empower you to live your life with joy and purpose. I hope I know the answer.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to decide that we will not be defeated by the challenges in life, but look for meaning and purpose so that we can better see that life is happening for us and not to us. Hope is an active choice. When we stop choosing it, we slowly drift back into old thoughts, actions, behaviors, habits, and beliefs that hold us back from fully experiencing the incredible life that is meant for each and every one of us. Make sure to subscribe and share this podcast to support that choice and intention to live a hope-focused life, and watch your circumstances reflect that hope back onto you and those around you. Every day when you wake up, make the choice to live as a hope warrior. The world needs your light.